the golden reign of Osiris and Isis, a tale of prosperity and harmony. In the land of Egypt, where the mighty Nile carved life into the desert, the gods ruled among men, shaping the world with their wisdom and power. Among them was Osiris, the noble and just god-king. He ruled with kindness, teaching his people to farm, build, and live in peace. His reign was a golden age, a time of prosperity, justice, and harmony. Beside him stood Isis, his queen, a goddess of magic, wisdom, and healing. She was his equal in power, the protector of Egypt and the guardian of life itself. Her love for Osiris was unbreakable, and together they ensured the land flourished. But in the shadows, jealousy grew like a venomous snake. Seth, Osiris's brother, the god of chaos, storms, and destruction, burned with envy. He despised Osiris' rule, loathed his power, and hated the love the people had for him. The bitterness in his heart twisted into a consuming hatred. One night, as the great halls of Egypt were filled with music and laughter, Seth put his plan into motion. He had crafted a magnificent golden chest, its surface engraved with sacred symbols and inlaid with jewels. But it was not merely a gift, it was a trap. He had measured Osiris in secret, ensuring that only he would fit inside. At the grand banquet, Seth unveiled the chest before the gods and noblemen. With a smooth and deceptive voice, he declared that whoever fit perfectly inside the chest could claim it as their own. Laughter and excitement filled the air as one by one the guests stepped forward, but none matched its size. Then Osiris, good-natured and unsuspecting, stepped forward. The moment his body touched the inner walls, the trap was sprung. With a deafening crash, the lid slammed shut. Chains of dark magic coiled around the chest like serpents, sealing Osiris inside. The gods gasped in horror, but before they could react, Seth's warriors seized the chest. Their feet thundered against the stone floors as they rushed toward the Nile. With a triumphant laugh, Seth and his followers cast the chest into the river. The water swallowed it whole, dragging it into the abyss. The golden glow of the sarcophagus faded beneath the waves, and Osiris, the great king, was gone. News of the betrayal spread like wildfire. The once thriving lands began to wither. Crops failed, the rivers ran dry, and despair fell upon the people. But Isis did not weep. She did not break. With fire in her eyes and vengeance in her heart, she vowed to bring Osiris back. Disguising herself as a mortal, she set out on a journey across Egypt and beyond. She crossed scorching deserts, climbed towering mountains, and braved treacherous waters, searching for any sign of where the Nile had carried him. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, but still she did not stop. At last, her search led her to a distant land where the golden chest had washed ashore. A mighty tree had grown around it, its roots entwining the sarcophagus. In this foreign kingdom, the tree had been cut down and used as a pillar in the palace of a great king. Isis entered the palace in disguise, waiting, watching, and gathering power. She became a trusted presence, her divine energy hidden beneath mortal flesh. When the time was right, she revealed herself, her true form shining with an ethereal glow. The king and queen, trembling before her might, bowed in reverence and returned the chest to her. With gentle hands, she opened it and found Osiris inside, lifeless but not yet lost. She wept over him, and her tears flowed into the Nile, causing it to flood, a sacred event that would bring fertility to Egypt year after year. But before she could restore him, the sky darkened. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of an oncoming storm. Seth had found her. Lightning split the sky as Seth descended with the fury of a raging tempest. His voice was a roar of thunder, and his eyes burned with hatred. He struck like a cobra, wrenching Osiris from Isis's grasp. In a single, terrible moment, he raised his blade high and brought it down with unholy fury. Osiris was torn apart, his body shattered into 14 pieces. Seth's laughter echoed through the heavens as he scattered the remains across the land, ensuring that Osiris could never be whole again. Isis, shattered but unyielding, refused to surrender. With the help of her sister, Nephthys, and the jackal-headed god Anubis, she began the search once more. She scoured the deserts, the rivers, and the deepest tombs. Every piece she found, she buried beneath sacred shrines so that Osiris would never be forgotten. But one piece was lost forever, his heart. Though incomplete, Isis would not allow Seth's cruelty to win. She called upon the deepest magic of the gods, breathing divine energy into Osiris's remains. The heavens trembled, the winds howled, and from the darkness, Osiris rose once more. But he could no longer rule the land of the living. Instead, he would reign over the underworld, becoming the judge of the dead. He would guide the souls of men beyond the veil, ensuring that justice endured beyond death itself. Before he departed, one last miracle remained. From their love, Isis conceived a son, Horus, the falcon god, the rightful heir to Egypt's throne. Knowing Seth would stop at nothing to destroy her child, Isis fled into hiding, raising Horus in the marshes of the Nile. She taught him wisdom, strength, and the ways of war. She filled him with the power of the gods, preparing him for the day he would reclaim what was stolen. When Horus came of age, he stood before the gods and declared his challenge. The heavens rumbled as the battle began. The war between light and darkness raged across the skies and the earth, shaking the mountains and splitting the sea. Horus struck with the swiftness of a falcon, Seth with the fury of a storm. The gods watched in silence as the fate of Egypt was decided in combat. Blow after blow, the battle raged for years. Seth, desperate and wild, tore out Horus's eye, but the young god did not falter. He rose again, his power greater than before. In their final clash, Horus struck Seth down, his blade flashing like the sun. The gods decreed his victory, and Seth, broken and defeated, was cast into the desert, left to wander as a forgotten force of chaos. With Osiris ruling the underworld, Horus guarding the throne, and Isis standing as the eternal mother and protector, the balance was restored. To this day, the Nile floods, just as Isis's tears once did, bringing life to the land of Egypt. Osiris watches over the dead, Horus defends the throne, and Isis remains the goddess of magic, wisdom, and unbreakable love. Their story is one of betrayal and vengeance, darkness and redemption, and through the strength of a queen, the wisdom of a god, and the courage of a son, the legend of Isis and Osiris lives on forever.